no, it's good to finally meet you. I know we worked with you in LA. We were hoping to work with you in Anaheim, and I believe you met Brandon from Groove, right?
Yeah. So I played a show at the Resident downtown LA that was super fun with Sound the Groove. That was a really good show for me. I like the fact that you guys brought together for the lineup a few different styles of music. So, you know, I'm folk rock Americana. The group after me was alternative rock, and I found out through the show that my music really plays well for the alternative crowd because they just like the style of my lyrics, and it's kind of like ethereal and dreamy and stuff like that. So that was a really great show. I had a lot of fun and debuted some new songs, and yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we had a great time with you. It's actually kind of a common format that what we'll do is we'll start a show with bands, but we'll start it with like one or two singer-songwriters, or at House of Blues, we'll start off with like just an evening of singer-songwriters. So it'll be like 4 or 5 people. And it actually usually plays well because a lot of people that are going to support the bands are a lot of like friends and family and stuff. And you'll find all these people that really love just singer-songwriter music that are kind of waiting for the later bands. So it's an easy way to like obtain new fans that way.
Yeah, totally. It's a great venue too. It was super fun. Cracked me up to see the inflatable zebras and hear that whole story.
Yeah.
You know, like at the show, you guys were like, we have to tape down the inflatable zebras because people will pick them up and toss them around and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have an issue, or not an issue, but just it's an ongoing thing that people try to steal our zebras. The zebras actually started off as like a just like a joke. Like we kept thinking of weird things we could put in the shows, and then one day, I believe it was me, I was just like, hey, let's just put an inflatable zebra in the audience. And it just became so popular that if we didn't start bringing zebras to shows, I would get calls and people would just be like, why wasn't the zebra there? Like, was my show not special enough? And so now we have zebras at like every show.
I love it.
Yeah, so to kind of explain to everybody what we're doing here, I'm John. I work with Groove. Basically, we book shows, you know, across the nation, as a lot of you know, but shows are kind of on hold right now. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to introduce all of you to some of the phenomenal people that we work with. And today, I'm introducing you to Kendra of Kendra and the Bunnies.
Hey.
Who's absolutely amazing. We've worked with her, as she said, in Los Angeles, although about Kendra, there's a lot of interesting facts about you. You've performed nationwide. You're a published author. You're a singer-songwriter. Like, you've written for multiple music magazines. You're clearly a person of like many talents. So I guess, you know, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're all about.
Thanks. So my mission is founded on world peace and collaborative experience. I think when we get together, we all get on that same wavelength. It allows for a lot of like shared understanding, which is kind of the foundation of peaceful progress. I'm very influenced by the 1960s, which would also be a good foundation for where that message comes from. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I've been acting my entire life. I grew up studying in the theater, from Shakespeare to musical theater and everything in between. And then in my teenage years, I discovered rock and roll music. So right when I was discovering rock and roll music, I also started writing poetry. And I thought it was like, you know, it was my teenage years, so it was very kind of like angsty times and stuff like that. But it was also very monumental for how my life would continue to proceed, because I started writing poetry and I never set down the pencil. And with rock and roll music, it was just like my ears were opened to this amazing sound that has so much history to it and so much feeling to it. So then I went to college for theater arts here in California at Pepperdine University, graduated, and I was just like, I guess this thing about my life is I just continue going to like the next thing. So I graduated with a theater arts degree, and I was like writing a lot of poetry and stuff like that. So some of the first things that I did after college, where I put together this book of poetry, this is my first one, and it's like from like, I don't know, like 10 years of collected poetry over the years, and then I put them together, and it kind of just became this like abstract memoir, because I'd been collecting these poems from over 10 years. So it was kind of like the story of my life through an abstract means. It also has like original photography in it too, so it's kind of like a visual storybook as well. And then I started thinking, okay, so I do acting, I do singing, I do writing of poetry, I play the guitar, and I just felt like something was missing, you know? And then it became so obvious to me. It was like a ton of bricks multiple times. You know, you should be a singer-songwriter. If you're writing all this, it clearly can go very well over guitars. So yeah, I mean, that's the quick synopsis of me. I published second book, lived in Denver, Colorado for a little bit, where I really got accustomed to the underground jam band music scene. That's probably my biggest influence is jam bands and that classic rock that is inherent through jam bands. Then in 2019, last year, I officially launched myself as a singer-songwriter as Kendra and the Bunnies.
Awesome.
Yeah, just to like skip around, that's a little bit about me.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, I could tell that there was just a lot of history there, and yeah, I don't think I mentioned, but yeah, you're also an actor as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a lot of interesting things about you. So like, yeah, we're stoked that we're working with you in Los Angeles. I saw a video of you performing in Greenwich in New York. Did you live out there, or was it you were just passing through, or?
So much fun. So I got the opportunity to record with Least of All sound recordings in Brooklyn, New York. So what they do is they do one-of-a-kind recording sessions that are recorded directly to vinyl records. So it's like a one-take Polaroid of your sound at the time, and they cut it right to the records. So that was a really unique and awesome experience. I flew out for that recording session, and I was like, okay, let me see where else I can play while I'm in town. By the way, I love New York City. I stayed in the Williamsburg district of Brooklyn, and I did, okay, so the night you're talking about is in Greenwich Village. I performed at Music in World Instruments. That place has been around since like the 50s. There's like all these cool like sitars and harps and stuff hanging along the walls, like these antique, beautiful instruments. And it was cool because I like the New York City vibe. Like I debuted a few songs that are really specific in lyrics about, you know, who we are in society, and it has to do with like this one song that I debuted at the time has to do with like who we are within media. Like when we take away cultural conditioning, do we know who we are after that? And I debuted that song there, and a few people came up to me after and they were like, whoa, I can't believe you get that. And I was like, no way, I can't believe you get it too. So it was very refreshing to have like that New York City moment where someone was just like, hey, I like your style.
Yeah, it's New York City, just from what I've seen, is while there's clearly millions of people on just a tiny little stretch of land, it's still got this like community vibe to it, where if you perform, people will walk right up to you and be like, wow, that was amazing, and this, and this is what I loved about it. Like people are, I'm sure there's a theory as to why, but people are more apt to, you know, walk right up to you and just engage in conversation. Whereas I love LA. I mean, I'm from LA, but you know, LA, it's a little bit more standoffish. People kind of stand by the bar and they just kind of observe, you know.
A lot of observers in LA, you're right.
Yeah, a lot of watchers. But yeah, cool. So actually, speaking of LA, yeah, where are you? Because the Groove is all over the place. Where are you currently?
I'm in North Hollywood.
Rad.
Yeah.
Cool. We've worked at the Federal in North Hollywood out there.
Yeah. It's like
beautiful
right
venue
down the street.
Oh, rad. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, small world. We actually had a show there where we actually had a hot buffet waiting for the artists before their show, and totally surprised them with that. And yeah, it was pretty rad.
Cool.
But yeah, what have you been doing to like kind of keep yourself busy during quarantine?
The irony here is that once quarantine started, I became so much busier, which I'm very grateful for. So in April, which just was like a blip on the screen, it was like, okay, it's April. It's no longer April. Now it's May. In April, I had a lot of shows scheduled in NorCal. I was going to travel up the coast, perform for my first time in San Francisco, and enjoy just hanging out on Haight-Ashbury. But the pandemic happened, so I decided, obviously, to reschedule all those shows. And in the meantime, I've had my booking team say, let's try to transition to online. So I've been doing a lot of virtual shows that are sponsored by venues. And what we do is we have the venue sponsor the night. So we're technically virtually touring, and then the venue like reshares our live stream and promotes it and stuff like that. So it's
Awesome.
cool because I've started creating these relationships that are more like personal and stuff like that, because we're creating ways to keep the industry going online, you know what I mean? And then I had plans to start recording my upcoming album during this time anyway. So I'm very blessed to be an artist during this time. I remember when the quarantine started, I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. The amount of self-reflection that I've had a chance to take part in. And I realized that, like, you know, life, I mean, I was always like living life to the fullest, but even living life to the fullest where it's like, I want to like walk out into my neighborhood to go get a smoothie or an iced coffee and like talk to people on the streets. Like, hey, which part of the neighborhood do you live in? And like really build community. So it's kind of brought me back to the roots of why I do what I do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it, that's really cool that you're setting up all these shows too, while everything's, you know, kind of in a holding pattern, you know, right now. And I can only imagine, because I can already tell you're a very effective person, because once we started talking about the interview, you followed up. And normally I'm the very, you know, I follow up like persistently and everything. Yeah. And I was just watching the follow-ups and I'm like, this person is an extremely effective individual. Thanks. So, which is good. Don't ever lose that side of you. It's really rad.
Thank you.
But yeah, yeah. Oh, I've been meaning to ask you, and this may, I don't know if you get this a lot, but so for everybody who's watching, Kendra and the Bunnies is just a really great, the best way I would describe it is it's a combination of a singer-songwriter mixed with spoken word, and like it's just this really great vibe about it. And anyway, the name is Kendra and the Bunnies, and I know when we first booked you, it came across, so we have two departments. We have the booking department and the production department, the people that run the show. And as soon as I was sending over the production email, we saw Kendra and the Bunnies, and we just immediately thought, oh my gosh, the Bunnies, it must be a full band. And like 3 different like panic attacks happened because we weren't prepared for that in that particular show. But of course, it turned out to be you. Oh no, it's not your fault at all.
No, it was funny, you know.
But yeah, I remember reaching out to you, and you're like, no, it's me. And I was just curious, where did you get the name? Like, where did that name evolve from, Kendra and the Bunnies?
It's funny when you texted me, hey, it was the day before the show. You were like, hey, like how many bunnies are there? And I was like, I was at NAMM 2020, and I was just like, oh. Yeah, I'm all the bunnies. I'm like, wow, that probably sounds so weird. He's like, all right, this girl's like all the bunnies. So this is where it originates from. I've been going by Ken Bunny for years. So that's like my Instagram name, like my nickname, yada, yada. And then I also am very influenced by, like I mentioned, classic rock music. So when I went to format what my stage name would be, my last name is kind of weird to spell. So it's like, I don't want to just go by Kendra Mickey. M-U-E-C-K-E, you know, so I'm on the stage like, hey, I'm Kendra, M-U-E-C-K-E, you know, so it's like, it needs to be something like quick that people will remember, but Ken Bunny isn't quite it because it sounds a little pop-like, or it sounds like a username or something like that. So then I was like, okay, why don't I do Kendra and the Bunnies? This would allow for on studio albums, recorded work that I can build out the band, and it's, you know, I like to include the idea that, okay, so booking out the band for studio stuff, and then for bigger events too, you know, I bring like a drummer on, or a keyboardist and stuff like that. So it allows for me to function as an individual and also as a band. Wait, there's 2 things I want to say there. Okay, so the origination of Kendra and the Bunnies comes from the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. The idea of the White Rabbit is, you know, the White Rabbit runs in and he's like, oh my God, I'm really late for a very important date. Well, I used to have a lot of anxiety where I would like go into something and I'd just be like, oh my God, I'm late. And then I realized, this is the way my mind works. I realized one day I was like, okay, wait, the White Rabbit is like jumping around and he's all worried about being late, but the whole story doesn't even start until he walks in during the first scene. So it's like he's technically right on time. So I need to remember that sometimes things are bigger than they seem. So I might feel like I'm out of sorts or something, but I could just be right in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. So as long as I just follow my heart and do that, then I can let that anxiety of needing to control everything subside. Then White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane is so influential for me, like the type of sounds that it has and stuff like that. It's kind of like this eerie, it's very hinged on the lyrics. It's eerie. She belts out all of the song too. Also I love like the intro to the song. It's got like that marching beat to it too. And then, okay, so then on the other hand, I don't know if you remember, but there was this reality show where they were at the Playboy Mansion, and there was a girl named Kendra on, I forget what the name of the show was, but it was like the bunnies, the Playboy bunnies. There was a girl named Kendra. So I like to like add the juxtaposition of like being someone who's psychedelic and like overthinks everything, versus maybe I'm just like blonde, like, I don't know, let's just have a good time. So I'm in between those two things.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Okay, so then the last development, I realize this is a loaded answer. The last development is I do have a lot of facets to my personality. So it's like, I'm Kendra, and then you're probably going to meet some of the bunnies as we have a conversation.
Fantastic. No, I'm really glad I asked, because it's actually ever since the day we booked you, ever since I sent you that text just being like, hey, like, well, you were at NAMM and we were getting ready for the show. I've just been wondering ever since, so I'm really glad this all came together. Yeah. But awesome. So you say you're influenced by a lot of classic rock. Kind of two-part question. What was your first concert that you ever attended? And two, who are your biggest music influences?
The first concert I ever attended, I was 4 or 5 years old. I know I was in kindergarten, and I was a big Spice Girls fan. So I went to go see the Spice Girls, but this was right when Ginger Spice had dropped out or whatever. And I remember during the show, I was so ecstatic. I was wearing like a girl power black dress and platform Skechers. And during the show, they were like, Ginger Spice, even though she's not on stage right now, she's up in the back. So if you're in the back, look for Ginger Spice. And it just like blew my mind. I was like, whoa, Ginger Spice is here. Obviously that was a joke, but my first show was the Spice Girls. And then I'd say my biggest influences are, I started going to concerts at a really young age, and that just continued. You know, then we had like Britney Spears, Gwen Stefani, you know, when you're younger in the 90s. So I'd say my biggest influences are, of course, the Grateful Dead. They're a huge influence for me as far as like, of course, their music is just like, I love their music, but they're also a huge influence for the way they represent themselves and the community that they bring about. So I'm just kind of like I'm a Deadhead. I'm part of the Grateful Dead family. Other influences would be Led Zeppelin, Soundtribe, Sector 9, which is also a great jam band, Jefferson Airplane, Fish, CCR, Stevie Nicks. Yeah, but I'd say those top three are Grateful Dead, Led Zeppelin, Jefferson Airplane.
Right on. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of Stevie Nicks, one of my first concerts not my first concert, definitely not my first, but within the first few years of going to concerts, I got to see Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was just like, and he's, older now, but he's still rocking it, so, and very acoustic vibes as well. Okay, fun question. I like to ask everybody this. What is the weirdest thing that has happened to you on tour or at a show?
Okay, so I was thinking what my answer would be to this, and I think this is a good answer. So I was playing a show at the Silver Lake Lounge here in Los Angeles in Silver Lake, which is kind of like a cool hipster neighborhood and stuff like that. So I was performing a show. I had a good number of friends there and stuff. And just like when I was starting my set, I just noticed like this guy just all of a sudden was like, who's this? And he just kind of like pops up and he like comes to the front of the stage. And during like he just kind of kept walking around, you know, and it touched. And then he'd go to somewhere like 5 feet to the right, to the other side of the stage. He's like, like looking me up and down and like not judging, but like observing everything I do, like at very close proximity. And then I go into this song, I Know You Writer, which is a classic blues song. And I was playing it at a tempo faster than I normally do. And that's when he started coaching me from the sidelines during my set. And he's like, a little too fast there, a little too fast, slow down, slow down, slow down. And I'm like, you know, he's kind of right. Like, I definitely could play the whole song at the speed, but now that he's mentioned it, why don't I just, you know, relax into the rhythm? So then he just kind of coached me through my whole set. And I was like, you know what? He's very into my music and I appreciate it. And, you know, I can like handle a few different things at the same time. So I was able to like be a performer for the people, you know, my friends and the people there. But I was also like having a one-on-one personal coaching session with this person. And I was thinking, okay, well, I wonder who this is. Like after my show, obviously they're going to walk up to me and introduce themselves. After the show, the guy was gone. And my friend said that he came up to her and he was like, oh my gosh, she's so cool. Like we haven't seen someone like this since like the Laurel Canyon days. And I was just like, wow, that's such a cool compliment. But it was definitely kind of strange being, I mean, I wouldn't recommend coaching someone through their profession, but I was able to say, right, okay, thank you, and take it as an experience instead of being like, wow, what about that guy pointing at the way that I am presenting my music?
Yeah, no, that's it's somebody who has like OCD, bit of anxiety, can't focus on more than one thing at a time. That would be a nightmare for me. Like I wouldn't be able to concentrate. So, but way to take that situation and turn it into positive.
Yeah. I mean, it was a cool situation. It was just like, I enjoy things in my life that are like interesting stories because I'm also a writer too. So I'm like, this is something I can write about later.
That's true. Well, and also we're talking about it now. So
yeah, right.
Cool. So, all right. So kind of flipping it a bit, what would you say is like the best show experience that you've ever had?
Actually, I think my favorite show so far was The Resident downtown LA with you guys because I debuted quite a few new songs, had that realization that my music plays really well with the alternative crowd, and it was super fun. So I'm going to say that's probably my favorite show so far. I mean, I like all of them for different reasons, but that's the one that sticks out in my mind and it's like my go-to. I'd say another fun one was I went to, okay, this is great. So I went to Denver, Colorado. I told you I lived there for a little bit. There's this one venue called Be On Key Psychedelic Ripple. So that's where I used to hang out all the time when I lived in Denver. So I go to the venue just to like reconnect with my friends and the person who owns the club. And he's like, hey, since you're in town, do you want to open up for the band on Friday? And I was like, yes. So I opened up for this pretty awesome band called Dead Fish Orchestra. They do dead music and fish music, and they're well known in Denver. So I opened up the show for them. There was probably like 75 to 100 people there just for the opening act. And I was like, this is cool. Monumental for me.
Right on. Cool. Well, sweet. Well, yeah, and before I know we've got an acoustic performance coming up, which everybody's obviously really stoked for. Before we go into that, though, do you have like any news or information that you'd like to share or announce?
Yeah, so I'm working on my upcoming album. I've got some really great people guesting on the album too. I've got a friend who's doing a few different instruments who lives in Portland. His name is Will Traylor. I'm super excited to have him on the album. I also have the drummer from The Higgs, Garrett Morris, who's going to be playing drums on the album. I'm super amped for this. It's taking my style in a direction that I've been harnessing for a while. It's kind of like Western rock. I would say it could be sounding similar to like Heart in a way, that it's kind of like off the cuff and a little wild in its presentation. in conjunction with the release of this upcoming album, I'm also going to be releasing a third book of poetry. So it's going to be a songbook with lyrics, other poems I've written since the last book, and kind of like an exploration into what moments led me to write each song. So I'm going to do like a song analysis. I might include the chords in there too. But it's songbook, poetry book in conjunction with the new album. But yeah, that's currently what I'm working on. I'm playing in Texas next month. And yeah, I mean, I'm always doing something. Give me a follow on Insta if you get a chance. And I'm very entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. So for everybody watching, and we're going to keep this up on our story for the next 24 hours.
Thanks.
This is Kendra of Kendra and the Bunnies, or well, she is Kendra and the Bunnies. Absolutely phenomenal. Very just a person of many talents. Right now, I'm basically going to put the camera on. I wrote on a little ease board Kendra's Venmo, if anybody wants to tip over the next 24 hours, and also her Instagram. Definitely give her a follow. And again, tours nationwide, so chances are wherever you are, she may be there. And when you're done, we'll say our goodbyes, so don't worry, it won't be like an awkward cutoff.
Goodbye, farewell.
I know, right? Cool, here we go.
Thanks. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. The title of this song is Figure Eight. Whoa. She ain't no good girl, she just wanna hang with me. Wonder where she is, she's back safe waiting in the wings. She ain't no good girl, she just wanna be free. Dead in the eyes, soft in the cheeks. She ain't no good girl, says she just me. Wonder what's on her mind. She ain't no good girl, says she just thinks of me. There with the words, wild in the trees. She ain't just any. I've seen plenty make he ain't no good boy. He just wanna tour with me. Wonder where we are, we're in the country making memories. Maybe he's a good one, the best in their sound. Takes me out for supper, tells me all his plans. Maybe he's a good one. Maybe I'll never know. 'Cause every time he looks in my eyes, everything gets so slow. Standing adjacent to a good girl, you can hear it chanting. Everybody's dancing. Everybody was dancing. Everybody was dancing in the streets. Everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So thanks for being a part of today. You're amazing, by the way. It's good to officially meet you. I know we do shows in a lot of different areas, and a lot of the times we're doing shows on the same night, so I don't get to go to all the shows. So it's good to meet you. I want to say in person, but as close as that can be right now. Everybody check out.
Distancing.
Yes, and sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk you, by the way. But yeah, everybody check out Kendra and the Bunnies. It's at Ken Bunny on Instagram. And definitely check out all of her stuff. She's absolutely amazing. Definitely Groove Fam in Los Angeles. We'll leave this up for the next 24 hours. And yeah, thanks for being a part of today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you too, and share my music and a little bit about my story.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye. All right, everybody, that was it. Tomorrow we're going to be with Live for Fun, Las Vegas fam. Can't wait to do that. So everybody check out Kendra and the Bunnies. If you're wondering what shirt I'm wearing today I am wearing the Drive Well shirt, also Las Vegas fam. This will be on our Instagram for the next 24 hours, and it'll also be up on our YouTube and our IGTV. I hope everybody has a beautiful day today. Peace.